Welcome everyone to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us later by watching or listening to this recording. I'm Laura Fenimore, the Chief Development Officer and Volunteer Coordinator with the Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles. We really appreciate your partnership with the Foundation. And if you want to learn more about the Foundation or A Course in Miracles, please visit acim.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit acim.org, and at the top of the page, you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation. Each session will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles, led by a moderator team of volunteers that work with the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through this presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Some of the moderators here also support our social media channels, and if you'd like a list of FIP resources, please email support@acim.org, and we'll be happy to share the resource list with you. Now let's begin our discussion.
Hi there, everyone. Welcome to today's discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles. Today we will pick up where we left off last time, which is lesson 90. But before we do that, I would like to go over the group discussion guidelines real quick. And after that, we'll do a short meditation prayer session. Here goes. The Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles, invites you to join our online study group hosted on Zoom. A dedicated team of volunteers facilitates these sessions to create a supportive learning environment. These are the guidelines. We ask participants to embrace kindness and respect. Remember to teach only love, for that is what you are. Focus on the Course. Our discussions will center on studying and applying the principles outlined in A Course in Miracles. We kindly request that you refrain from questioning the validity of the Course or its documented history as presented by the Foundation for Inner Peace. This includes avoiding conspiracy theories. Share openly and respectfully. We welcome your thoughts and perspectives. Disagreements may arise, but let's express them constructively and avoid invalidating others' experiences. Welcome the Holy Spirit. As we engage in discussions, we invite the Holy Spirit's guidance to transform our interactions into holy relationships. This allows us to see the Christ within each other, fostering a sense of unity and love. Together, let's embark on a journey of learning and spiritual growth through A Course in Miracles. Okay, before we start on the lesson, I would like to ask you to take a moment to center and quieten your mind, please. Settle comfortably in your chair and close your eyes if you want to. Gently breathe in and out at your own pace. I will read the first paragraph of Workbook Lesson 233, allowing ample time for us to absorb Jesus' words. Father, I give you all my thoughts today. I would have none of mine. In place of them, give me your own. I give you all my acts as well, that I may do your will instead of seeking goals which cannot be obtained, and wasting time in vain imaginings. Today, I come to you. I will step back and merely follow you. Be you the guide, and I the follower, who questions not the wisdom of the infinite. Nor love, whose tenderness I cannot comprehend. But which is yet your perfect gift to me. Amen.
Amen.
Now gently come back to our shared space here on the internet and smile at your fellow travelers on the journey without distance to a goal that has never changed. And welcome to those who have joined us since I last welcomed everybody. Today we will have a look at lesson 90, because we finished, or we completed our look at lesson 89 last week. And I've asked Mia to read the first part and Stephanie to read the second part. And so there it is. Mia, if you could read paragraph 1 and 2, go ahead.
Okay. Let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Let me realize today that the problem is always some form of grievance that I would cherish. Let me also understand that the solution is always a miracle with which I let the grievance be replaced. Today, I would remember the simplicity of salvation by reinforcing the lesson that there is one problem and one solution. The problem is a grievance. The solution is a miracle. And I invite the solution to come to me through my forgiveness of the grievance and my welcome of the miracle that takes its place. Specific applications of this idea might be in these forms. This presents a problem to me which I would have resolved. The miracle behind this grievance will resolve it for me. The answer to this problem is the miracle that it conceals.
Thank you, Mia. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Number 3, let me recognize my problems have been solved. I seem to have problems only because I am misusing time. I believe that the problem comes first and time must elapse before it can be worked out. I do not see the problem and the answer as simultaneous in their occurrence. That is because I do not yet realize that God has placed the answer together with the problem so that they cannot be separated by time. The Holy Spirit will teach me this if I will let Him, and I will understand it is impossible that I could have a problem which has not been solved already. These forms of the idea will be useful for specific applications. I need not wait for this to be resolved. The answer to this problem is already given me if I will accept it. Time cannot separate this problem from its solution.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, let's go back to the top and let's look at the review of lesson 79, paragraphs 1 and 2, including the statements at the bottom there. Would anyone like to share their insights, or maybe someone has a question? Let me recognize my problems have been solved. Do I see any hands? Megan, go ahead.
Okay, so I was doing this. I went to see some college friends at the beach this past week, and every time when you know somebody's for 40 years, you have things that have built up, cherished grievances and things, beliefs that you don't even recognize because they're so old and so linked to these specific people that you don't recognize them until they fly up in your face and you go, wow, I've got issues. So I kept thinking, oh my goodness, what is my coursework? What is my coursework telling me what to do? So I started recognizing that I did not need to change them. I did not need to change myself. I needed to change my mind. I needed to perceive differently what was going on. What had happened in the past did not actually happen. What was happening at the beach was not happening. My mind was making all kinds of things up. And so the problem that needed to be solved was I needed to accept God's guidance in releasing any attachment to any things that were not joyful or not seeing the Christ in my friends, and realizing that whatever cherished issues I had immediately dropped away the minute I realized that these people would do anything for me. They would, Digit started coughing. Immediately, everybody turned to Digit and said, what can we do? How can we help? The minute anything needed attention, everybody literally stopped what they were doing and turned their attention to that. And I thought, this is so amazing that I can allow all the past stuff to go and see the Christ in people, and then actually come home and review it and say, wow, like it was chaotic in a way I can't explain, but it was such a good refresher on how changing your mind and asking for guidance and then releasing so that you can accept it, releasing ego stance so you can accept it. It's really, really important. Thank you very much.
Oh, what a lovely share, Megan. I can just picture you there, and I can so relate. Oh, I see many hearts. I'm not the only one who relates. Good. Thanks. Bill, go ahead.
Thanks, Sister Needs. Yeah, lesson 90. Okay, this is an awesome little step up from 79. And I had to look at it twice. It's just, wait a minute, let me recognize the problem so I can be solved, so it can be solved. And I go, no, that's not it. I've been saying this mantra over and over and over. That's the second last line in my mantra right now. So now I guess I will change that line and not add the line, or maybe I'll add the line, I'm not sure. But let me recognize the problem so it can be solved. Yeah. So I've just been saying, let me recognize all my problems are solved. Let me recognize this. Let me recognize it's in the mantra. And now I'm going to say, well, now let me recognize the problem so it can be solved, because that's true. When I look back, I don't know what the problems are exactly at all. So now I want to ask to see what the problem is. Let me recognize it so it can be solved. And I've noticed that in my teachings to my friends and people who I'm with, that I'm automatically inferring that same thing. We need to understand our problem so it can be solved. It's like, this person doesn't understand they got this problem, so I need to help them understand they got this problem so that they can understand what it is. And only then can they work on solving it, once they understand the problem. So I love where this 79 comes into 90 on this. Appreciate it.
Thanks for sharing, Bill. And I love the way your mantra evolves. That's really
Right?
beautiful. Yeah, it's a living document. Thank you. Go ahead, Mia.
So when Megan was speaking, I noticed, and maybe it was just because I needed to hear it, but I noticed you said the word cherish a little louder. Did you do that on purpose, Megan?
I don't know. Maybe I did it for you. I have no idea.
And so, and so that's what kind of got me to respond, because it's like what Bill's saying too. And what the whole thing that Megan said was, it's the perception. So if we cherish something, that's our perception. If we react to something or respond to something in a certain way, and form that as an obstacle, I think that's kind of where problem might come into the picture, where it actually doesn't exist. So what I'm saying is that today I will remember the simplicity of salvation. The simplicity of salvation to me is remembering that my perception of anything that is not like what Megan is saying, like Megan said, I'm just repeating what she's saying. Any perception that is not joy, love, or peace needs correcting, if that's the way the Course puts it. And that is the salvation. And that's how simple it is. That's how I see this particular lesson.
Thank you. Well explained. Thank you. Maggie, go ahead.
I just really briefly thought I would chime in. Mia, I caught that too. It felt pronounced to me too. I heard the word cherished when Megan was speaking. And to me, it stood out because the lesson that we're reading right now does actually use the word also right in the first sentence. Maybe I'll just actually share that, pull that up while I'm saying it. So when she was speaking, I heard it too, because right away this says, let me realize today that the problem is always some form of grievance that I would cherish. And isn't that just really exactly what both of you are sharing?
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Maggie, for pulling us back into the text of the lesson. It's all there, right? Rich, go ahead.
I mean, there's plenty of great ideas in lesson 90 here. My problems. So, I mean, the book talks about all these subjects. I mean, if there's any doubt whatsoever as I'm in any particular moment dealing with anyone in any way, if there's any doubt, I'm in my ego. And then know that the solution to feeling joyous and not doubtful is there. I just have to be willing to know it, feel it, find it, be it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at, I'm trying, different ideas about the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of ideas that they're in the book about these ideas, but for me, there's something in the text here. It says, anything concerning ego that you believe is good and valuable and worth striving for can hurt you and will do so. And hurting means simply bringing guilt, doubt, shame, remorse, anxiety, whatever, not because it has the power to hurt, but just because you have denied it is but an illusion and made it real. And it is real to you. And then the very next sentence is, it is not nothing, and through its perceived reality. So in any event, it's like things that I know are an ego. I know it's an ego thing. I know it'll bring guilt, but I like it. I think it's, it's interesting. I'm willing to trade off, some feeling of joy for a little bit of guilt or remorse or doubt, like I'm willing to do it. And then that just ties into all these sentences in the book about, you don't see yourself as 100% worthy of perfect joy, perfect peace all the time, no interruptions. If you don't see yourself as worthy of that, then you're willing to allow a little doubt, fear, remorse, anxiety in. Not a lot, I don't want a lot of that, but for a particular body pleasure that I want, I'll let in a little bit of doubt, fear, remorse. It's okay, a little bit of disappointment, big deal. So this is the problem, and I really don't know what the solution is.
Well, the lesson for today tells us what the solution is, Rich.
Yes, and the solution comes right with the problem if I'm willing to look at it honestly. I mean, sentences in the book for me: when the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means of getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication, and your thoughts will be as free as God's. It is impossible to seek for pleasure through the body and not find pain. I mean, there's plenty of solutions. It's just a willingness to really live them.
And I think that's the answer, really, the willingness. The willingness to welcome the miracle, right? Because we don't know what the miracle will look like. So it's kind of scary. I see two hands. Stephanie and Maggie, would you like to respond to what Rich has said? Or would you like to? Yeah, okay. Do you mind, Stephanie, if we go to Maggie first and then? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Rich, I was really following you and I was really enjoying listening to you there. And you were just saying, it takes a willingness. A willingness is so much it. I know in my experience, that's what seems to bring more of the experience that the Course speaks of, that some of those lines that you do recite often to us. I love how Bill always points out the repetition. It's for us. You're doing that for us. That the way to those lines, to those experiences, is the willingness. But there was one little thing you said that I just thought I would just add my understanding to, because you said, I think the willingness to just live it. To me, I think it's easier even if I focus just on the willingness to say, I don't like what I've chosen. And then I don't have to actually effort and try to figure out how to live it. That part just seems to unfold. But if I just focus on, like you said it so well yourself, Rich, like, yeah, we are all choosing a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of pain, a little bit of guilt. We're all doing it. We are all doing it. And all we're asked for in the willingness is to say, this actually doesn't feel good. And you know what? Maybe I don't want to make this choice anymore. And it's in that little opening of just saying, maybe I don't want it. That's where the Holy Spirit comes in. And then you watch yourself seem to live it more. That's my experience. So I just thought I would share that with you. But thank you so much for what you were speaking. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you, Maggie. Would you like to respond, Rich? You don't have to. You don't have to.
Oh, I would almost always come up with something. I'm looking up the word. I'm looking up the word worthy. So I mean, it's about feeling 100% worthy of perfect joy, perfect peace. So having or showing the qualities that merit recognition in a specified way. That's all I'll say, is that, these things are just, I don't know, one way or another, everyone comes to the conclusion that they want to live Jesus-like, I'll say.
Yeah. Salvation is guaranteed, right? That's what the book says. So one day we'll all get it. That's the good news. All right. So Stephanie, you've been very patient. Go ahead.
So I want to comment on the first line. Let me realize today that the problem is always some form of grievance that I would cherish. So in the last week, what I've been learning, I'll put it that way, what I've been learning and I'm continuing to learn is something came up for me and I did not see it as a grievance. I saw it as my accurate perception. And so therefore, what could I do but honor my accurate perception? So I have to say it's been amazing for me as I've been seeing that it really comes from a grievance that is so long-standing. That's been, I think somebody earlier, I forgot who it was, but somebody spoke about oh yeah, I know, it was Megan, about our history. Like we're so used to our history and our way of seeing things. So I just want to say I am so grateful that well, I'll say two things. First of all, I'm grateful for the course itself because it's amazing. It's just such an amazing, it's so amazing that it's so so deep and so complete, and it never stops. As long as I don't stop, it doesn't stop giving to me. So that's one thing. The other thing is I'm so grateful to the people that have been helping me to change my perception, because I was met with so much kindness and respect, and it really made a big difference because I was really shaky. So anyway, I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that lovely testimony. Wonderful. But I'm curious, I hope you don't mind me asking, what made you see that you were having a grievance? Because you said it seemed like a factual perception. So what made you think, oh,
Okay.
this might be a grievance?
That's a great question. I love that question. So when I was met with so much kindness, like people weren't, these are students, okay, of the course, some of whom are present. They weren't like critical of me and judging me and angry with me. They were like compassionate, but basically they weren't seeing it the same way I was seeing it. So I was like, well, I have a lot of respect for these people. Maybe, just maybe, my perception isn't accurate. It was very interesting, an experience, but I will tell you, without the loving compassion, I don't think I could have seen it. I think if I felt judged or managed, micromanaged, I think I would have balked. But, this is in retrospect now that I'm seeing it. So, and actually the funny part is this. Here's really the funny part. The funny part is this is exactly the thing I need to change in myself. So people, we're just going to be who we are. We do the best we could do. And I don't want to be judgmental, but I am. And so it just comes up. And then I think I'm right. So I will tell you, the way I put it to myself is I'm learning that I'm not the authenticity police.
Oh.
That's not the job God gave me. So
thank heaven, because it's exhausting.
It's so tiring. So thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Stephanie. That was lovely. Okay, Mia, you've been very patient. After Mia is Megan. Go ahead, Mia.
So one of the things that I've said quite a few times during these sessions is that this course is easy and this course is simple. And it's actually in the course. I decided to look it up. And so I didn't look up the course is easy until last week. And I'm like, it has to be in the course somewhere. It just does. I feel like this is true. And it answers what we're talking about today. And so I've been reading this paragraph over and over again this week. And I would like to share it with you because it kind of really ties in everything that we're saying and we're seeing today. So this course is easy just because it makes no compromise. Yet it seems difficult to those who still believe that compromise is possible. They do not see that if it is salvation is attack. Yet it is certain the belief that salvation is possible cannot be upheld a quiet, calm assurance it has come. Forgiveness cannot be withheld a little, nor is it possible to attack for this and love for that and understand forgiveness. Would you not want to recognize assault upon your peace in any form? If only thus does it become impossible that you lose sight of it. It can be kept shining before your vision, forever clear and never out of sight, if you defend it not. And I kind of interpret that as is that 100% giving yourself to the course and knowing that, and this is the biggest shift for me, is what Rich said, is seeing that I am worthy to be the son of God. And in that worthiness comes the gift. And the gift is that everything that's being presented in front of us through ego is not happening. And so, like Stephanie came to realize in her sharing, it's like once that shift happens, it becomes easier and easier and easier to realize that we are not willing, and I'm saying we, as the Son of God, we are not willing to be victims of our circumstance that we perceive to be true, that is actually the illusion. And I think that is why this is so powerful, because we don't have to compromise. We just say, okay, we're willing to do this. We're willing to say, oh, wait, that's an ego happening. Okay, that's not me. Oh, that's another ego thing happening. Okay, that's not me. And keep redirecting. And the more we redirect ourselves, and it becomes easier, because then our mind becomes, oh, that ego mind, yeah, we're not doing that. That was a mess. That was chaos. That was, cookies, ice cream, Doritos, and that kind of nutrition. We want, the stuff that's going to satisfy us. And interestingly enough, it's just being peaceful. And so that's really where the no compromise comes from, when you really are willing to say, I choose the life of peace and love, no exceptions, because there really are no exceptions. It's just everything else is the illusion. We already have it. We already graduated. We already have cap and gown on. We just have to just go over there and say, hey, 100% I accept this diploma. I got this.
Thank you, Mia. That was lovely. Could you say where the section is that you read for us?
Oh, absolutely. It's in I don't know how to do the chapters, but it's page 495, and it's on the bottom of the page, and it's the top says, what chapter is this? Chapter 23, I guess, section 3, salvation without compromise. And it's
Okay, thank you.
paragraph 4.
Thank you. Lovely, wonderful share. Megan, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mia. I'm going to reach back to Rich because I really appreciated his share a bit. And I will just go a little further into my experience recently, which was driving home from the beach with Digit coughing on my lap for a couple hours. And I called my mom because I needed just somebody there with me. And I realized that before doing the course, or even like a couple of years ago, or even now, that when I call people, they're used to sharing in my grievances. So why I'm going back to Rich is because what he said was that something that sparked a memory of mine, which is that I have become comfortable in my discomfort, and that has allowed me to refuse God to come in, and I have to be less comfortable with discomfort. I'm more comfortable with allowing God to take control. So as I was speaking with my mom, I was telling her all the things, the chaos that went on, and she went immediately to who to blame and why it happened and how things shouldn't have happened. And I eventually said, stop, I'm on a speakerphone. So I'm saying, stop. And I said, I really don't want to, I said, I worked really hard to get through this, to see this in a positive way. I said, I have done an awful lot of work. And I said, these are not bad people. This was not a bad experience. It was all very much something for me to learn from. And even driving home was something for me to rejoice in, that I was getting help from her. And she said, oh, that's so wonderful. But I realized that we allow people to keep us cherishing our grievances, or we allow them to let go of allowing us to cherish our grievances. So I basically told my mom, I don't want you to help me be upset. I want you to help me feel joyful about letting go of the upset. I just need support while I drive home, and the dog, I'm just fearful, and I've asked God for help, and God said, call your mom. So I've called my mom. So anyway, so I just wanted to say that I appreciate Rich saying that sometimes we do ask for the things that are not God because we see some joy in it. And like I was saying, that I feel sometimes that I have become familiar with discomfort in the body, and therefore sometimes I allow it when I don't need to. It has nothing to do with worthiness or not unworthiness. It has to do with how old I am, and then I'm used to it. And so some part of me keeps forgetting I can let it go. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. That was a deep share. Would anyone like to respond to Megan? I see lots of hearts. I'll add mine too. I was wondering, Megan, how's Digi doing now?
She's doing very much better. She was a signal to cut bait and come home and take care of myself and take care of her. And so, yes, so she had gotten something like some sort of hair and sand in her throat, and she couldn't get it up. And I didn't have the medication at the beach, so I really did need to come home. But I realized that God was working the whole time. Nothing wrong happened. There was no right or wrong. It was all in line with God needed me to come home. I needed to come home. The dog needed to come home. I needed to leave where I was. And so when I realized that it was all God's plan versus my ego's plan, I was actually so much more relieved that I didn't leave people and ruin their fun at having me there. She didn't cause any problems. We didn't, I mean, it was all, I wouldn't even, when I called my mom and I was like, no, stop. I thought, oh my God, don't yell at your mom. And my mom's like, well, thank you for helping me, be positive, because I'm always so negative. And I thought, oh my goodness, she's now thanking me for yelling at her. So I'm like, everything's worked out so well. And I think also when I got home, I was able to just acclimate and not be in the chaos enough to go, wow, that was just so amazing. And that's what we talk about, which is I invite the solution to come to me through my forgiveness of the grievance and welcome, and my welcome of the miracle that takes its place. And that's what I really appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate it with you. I'm sure everybody does. The Son of God is innocent. Nobody is to blame for anything. Thank you. Rich, go ahead.
I mean, I'm just always looking up stuff, whether it's dictionary definitions or things in the book. And so here's a good one. So we've talked about a lot of things here as far as the problem and solution, but I'm looking at this statement here in the book. It says the beginning of the thought reversal, which is essentially the identification of what is more desirable. So acknowledging that ego things can be desirable. And then in my rational mind, I say, however, the God way of doing this would be even more desirable because there'd be no guilt. It would be 100% joy and peace. So instead of just saying to ourselves, be vigilant against the ego, well, there's also a sentence in the book here about acknowledging that ego thing is desirable, but the God thing, if I really if I get a feel for the God actions in my life, the God thoughts in my life, they are more desirable. And then eventually that which is more desirable in terms of whatever we're going through will simply be how we think and act versus anything less than.
Yeah, great point. You get applause and hearts and thumbs up. Wonderful. Thank you. Do I see any other hands? Okay, we can go to the second half of the lesson. Maggie, if you could pull it up, please. So that is, let me recognize my problems have been solved. And it basically says that the problem and the answer are not separated by time. We think they are. And thinking that they are is part of the problem. Because they're not. The answer was given at the moment the problem emerged. I'll just read the three sentences at the bottom. I need not wait for this to be resolved. The answer to this problem is already given me, if I will accept it. Time cannot separate this problem from its solution. Rich, you have your hand up. Is it still up or is it up again?
No, I didn't take it down.
Okay. Would anyone like to share? Maybe I'll share and then see what you guys think. Sometimes, because it says that it happens at the same time, right? The problem and the solution. And we think that the problem comes first and the solution comes after. And so we experience it in a sequence going from A to B. And sometimes when I'm in a tizzy, I have something that I can't see the end of. I like to turn it around. I like to tell myself, the reason I'm having this problem is because the answer is already there. And the answer has called the problem forth for me to see the answer. And of course, that doesn't make sense. And nowhere in the course it says that this is so, but it helps me to know I have the answer already. And it's just helping me to see, the problem is helping me to see the answer. I just thought I'd share that. Mia, go ahead.
Okay. So, one of the things that I don't know, it seems when you say the word problem now, it always seems kind of strange. One of the things I guess I had in a focus on was anxiety. And so I didn't actually know what it was going on, what the whole thing of it was, until like the last 2 years. And so coming to the course kind of really brought to me like the light on what anxiety was for me. And the reason why I'm bringing that up in specific is because that created all sorts of problems that didn't exist. I mean, there was a whole bunch of upheaval and the earth was crashing down to the ground. And I felt like I was being constantly attacked and all of this stuff. And when I realized through the course that perception of what is really going on, taking that time to say, oh, I'm safe in God, or like there's no problem. The problem is that you're putting all of this pressure or all of this expectation or all of this sort of what's going to happen in the future onto this particular event that actually isn't happening right now. Like none of that's going on in your brain actually happens yet. It's that form of projection or whatever. For me, that's where this is like a lot of the solutions were happening once I said, oh, it's the problem isn't the problem, it's the solution is my perception. And the minute I change my perception, it literally dissolves. And that's where this has helped me a lot to realize that just that one little shift helped me realize this lesson. And whenever I do get discomfort of some sort, I immediately check myself and saying, what's happening, what's coming up, where do I need to shift perception? Because creating problems used to be my specialty. And now I would like to fail at that. I would like to be really miserably awful at creating problems. So I really enjoyed this lesson.
Thank you. It sounds to me like you're getting really specialist in inviting the miracle in. Sounds wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Stephanie, go ahead.
Well, for one thing, I relate to what Mia said about wanting to not be so good at creating problems. But what I wanted to comment on was what you said, Johanna, about the solution. The thing is coming up, which has the solution, so that you'll see the I forget how, but in any case, what I want to say is the first group I attended, Bill K commented on not seeing things that come up that bother him. This is not your words, these are my words. I can't remember exactly a quote, but that when things come up, wow, that's an opportunity to heal. And it had a big impact on me. So I'm trying to remember that all the time when things come up. Wow, this is an opportunity to heal. And I feel that's what you were saying, was be happy.
Yes, everything's opportunity for forgiveness. That's what now that's the word. That's what I'm telling as many people as I can. Everything is only an opportunity for forgiveness. Forgiveness is the only thing that we have to master here on earth. There's nothing else. You get this? So when you need to forgive, opportunity given to you to accept.
Oh, I love it, Bill. And thank you for giving him the stage, Stephanie. Yeah. Yeah, forgiveness is my only function here, right? That's what the Course says. And then the fun thing is that forgiveness and happiness are the same. So, you know, what else do you need to know? Yeah. All right. Do I see any other hands? People wanting to share about the second half of lesson 90. I don't see any other hands. We are 7 minutes before the hour. I do not want to start on a new lesson. It doesn't seem like that would be a good idea. What I will do is I will do the closing prayer for today. I will leave extra long pauses in between the sentences, and we'll make it sort of like a closing meditation. If you have to leave, that's fine. Just quietly leave. And so we'll just have like a quiet meditation for the last couple minutes of this session. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for holding space for each other. Thank you all for your input and for your insights. It's all very much appreciated.
Bill does
Johanna?
have a stand up in case you didn't notice, Johanna.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Right. Thank you, sister. Yeah, let's contemplate like here on a minute or two, just before we go into that some prayer. Looking forward to doing that for true. Thank you, Johanna. But let with me, let's try to comprehend, like we're asking now, show us our problems. So now we're already living close with God right now. We are the teachers of God. But still, we have problems and resentments that we don't know are there. So I think this is an opportunity to exercise this, to kind of sit and try to understand the things show you, because you're not going to be hurt by a problem anymore. Okay, it's just an opportunity. So before we were kind of like, we don't want to know the problem because we're going to be hurt by it. Like now we do want to know it. What is it? And we have to, I'm thinking, go deep and wait and ask it to show us our problems. And I bet you for a lot of us, it's going to be quite silent, because a lot of us TOGs were up in the place where our problems are being solved. So, but obviously, since we're still here in the flesh, we have hidden grievances. So we want to even work harder, as because the TOGs, we're doing the study and it's making us work even deeper than just forgiveness. We're going deeper and to find the things that we don't forgive. And yeah, just that statement there, I think that can wrap that up and bring us right into the prayer.
Thank you, Bill. I suppose that's willingness squared, right? That's being very, very willing. Wonderful. I love it.
The OGs do that.
Okay. So if you sit comfortably in your chair and close your eyes if you want to. The closing prayer is the second paragraph of workbook lesson 233, the one that we opened with. Today, we have one guide to lead us on. And as we walk together, we will give this day to Him with no reserve at all. This is His day. And so it is a day of countless gifts and mercies unto us. Amen.
Shabbat.